X Radio, programming for the open mind.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for listening tonight, those in the chat room and those from around the world. We appreciate each and every one. Tonight we have with us Jeffrey Gould.
Hello, hello.
And Barbara Duncan.
Howdy, folks.
And our great guest, Gypsy Moon.
Hey, everyone.
All right. I want to talk some, and Barbara might have a ton more questions, but I'd like to talk some more about you do paranormal investigations.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of places do you usually go to do investigations? Is it somebody calling you to come in, or do you go to other places of your own choosing?
Well, actually both. I mean, I really do like going to all the different historical locations, just because I'm kind of a history buff. So I've been to a lot of the go-to places, I guess, like Waverly Hills, maybe like the lighthouse over in St. Augustine. In fact, that St. Augustine's Old Town is fabulous. We've been up to Ohio and done a lot of investigating up there in Mansfield Prison, Prospect Place. I mean, you know, so a lot of the ones that a lot of people watch on TV. We've actually had a lot of fun investigating those locations. But absolutely, we don't limit it to just that. We certainly would go to private homes where, especially if they're having like any kind of issues or problems, and try and help people learn how to deal with what it is that they're dealing with, and try to just bring some peace and resolution to the situations where possible. So we're kind of, all over the board, really. I mean, you can come to my house and hang out for a week, and we can have one right here. I don't have to go looking for them.
You have spirits in your house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's not an old house. Nobody died here. In fact, I'm the first owner of it. So, but they're here, and anybody who's spent more than a few days here has had an experience here, and it's kind of fun to watch other people have experiences, because they're, you don't tell them everything, and then all of a sudden they have that experience, and it's the same experience that somebody else had, or one like it, I didn't know that this is actually the most I've ever seen ghost cats. I mean, they're cats. I've got cats. I've got a little girl. It's really more spirits that pass through, or if I have a reading coming up, sometimes spirits will come to me before the reading. Like, the day that I woke up and was having the trouble breathing, I didn't know I was going into a reading, but that's what ultimately happened. So, or before I go to a location, I may have a spirit visit me here at home, and then, in advance, a week later, I'm on an investigation somewhere, and that's where they came from. And the interesting thing about it is we have actually captured EVPs, either here at my house that belong to an investigation that's upcoming in a week, and we can validate it. We did this, again, this was a Colorado one, in Cannon City. They have the Abbey of the Holy Cross, which is an old monastery, and we were there investigating, and I got the name of a woman who was coming through to me while we were staying in the sister's house there, while the nuns used to live. And turned out that the name that I got, I went to Dennis, and I'm like, Dennis, I got this name. Do they have records of the nuns that used to live there? Because I was in the sister's house, and that's where she was. I'm thinking it might be a nun or something. I don't know, but she came through pretty clear with her name. So I gave him the name, and he said, okay, well, we'll look into it later. And I'm like, okay. So we went about our business and, did our further investigation. Well, later that night, we went over to the prison. Turns out she was one of the prisoners at the prison. And he didn't want to tell me until we got there to see what else came, of course, But what she was doing over at the monastery is beyond me. She's across town over here, but she was over there. So they come through when they want to come through. They don't necessarily care where you're at or what you're doing. They just kind of pop in, and really people experience that more than they realize.
Wow. All right, Barbara.
Well, it's interesting that you would, there's some people, in some of the thought in the paranormal world is that you don't investigate your own home. So obviously you don't go along with that belief.
No, I don't like break out the equipment or anything, and it's not, well, I guess I have with the EVPs. I have. It's been done. But it's just it's not commonplace because I personally don't use a lot of equipment. That goes with an investigation, but I am so not technical. Everything breaks when I use it. So I just try to use me the way my mom taught me, But other people have had, those kinds of experiences here too. So it's just kind of fun to watch. It's usually little prankster stuff. Dennis was here not too long ago, and he was here for a month, and he got an eyeful of an awful lot of things. He was like, I questioned you, Gypsy. I really didn't know for sure if some of what you were saying was true, but holy cow, he experienced footprints. He experienced the little girl standing right in front of him. And, to watch an old man jump that high off the couch was pretty entertaining for me. But, like I said, there's nothing harmful. There's nothing fearful or scary or evil or, it's just, I'm well protected and I use a lot of protection. So I think that, that helps too. But my point is that, these things happen all the time. They happen everywhere. They happen to everybody. It's just what, a lot of people just don't pay attention. You blow it off. Oh, that was my imagination. Because that's what you're trained to do when you're young as a child. And you think you experience something. And then the adult in the room tells you, oh, that's your imagination. You're just seeing things. That's not real. That didn't happen. My mom never said those things to me.
Huh.
My mom said, what did you see? What did it look like? What did it feel like? Was it a boy? Was it a girl? Was it a woman? Was it a man? Were they young? Were they old? Were they nice? Were they mean? She asked me questions.
Now,
which was different.
I've gotten all kinds of EVPs on investigations. I've never seen a person spirit. I've seen different things like when I was at the David Stewart farm in Gettysburg. I seen the Confederate soldiers, because it was a field hospital, I seen them smoking cigarettes. You'd see the little red dot, and it'd get bright and go out and stuff. But I've never actually seen a spirit. So, not necessarily wanting to, because I'm one of those people that I won't go nowhere by myself.
Yeah. I'm the one that they send in first, honestly. It's funny because I've been on investigation with, this guy who's like 6'2", 300 pounds, and he's like, you go first.
You go first.
Like, okay. Yeah, I go first. I'm always the one to go first. Because honestly, it's the ghosts don't scare me. The paranormal doesn't scare me. They can startle me. They definitely have the ability to startle me, but I'm not fearful of them. When I get scared, it's because I think it's a real person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm like wandering around in the dark and I think I see somebody, I might get scared, but if it's not a real person, then I'm like relieved. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just a ghost.
Yeah.
We're good.
Wow. So, all right, Barbara.
So even in places like Waverly, which has been known for some rather physical activity in there.
I love Waverly.
So what was your experiences there?
I had such a great time at Waverly the first time I went that I actually went back with my son and his girlfriend and his best friend. We made it was like a family vacation for us, to tell you the truth. we're a little strange like that, I guess. I think actually there's more than just ghosts at Waverly. And by that, I mean, I don't even know that everything that's going on at Waverly is within my lane. I think it exceeds things that I know about based on the experiences that I've had there. There's definitely a lot of ghosts there. Absolutely. Good ones. I got some great evidence. I got a picture of a nurse. That you can see that on Facebook too. It's she's on there, and she was actually walking around with me, and it was interesting because we had been there all night, and it was the next morning. The sun is just rising, and nursing shifts are going to be like your 3 to 11, 11 to 7, 7 to 3, and they they do it in those 8-hour shifts. Well, this would have been right around shift change. And I felt like I was doing rounds. And I'm walking around. I got this nurse walking behind me, and I know she's there. I can feel her. And I could feel her so strong that I literally took my phone and I was taking like selfies. And I was like aiming behind me because she was always behind me. I couldn't get her in front of me. When I turned around, she'd still be behind me. And that's actually how I ultimately ended up catching her. It was over my shoulder. There's actually several spirits in the picture, but she's the most pronounced. And I was expecting, the first time I went to Waverly, I was expecting to get scared. I was cautious because I had heard that there's some negative things going on there that definitely do get very physical. I'm very specific in what I'm willing to interact with. When I go on an investigation, I bring my team with me, my spirit guides. Anybody I communicate with has to go through them to talk to me. And otherwise I'm not interested. If they're, you got to be approved.
Got your own gatekeepers.
Seriously. And I don't want to communicate with anything negative energy. I just don't. I don't need that kind of negativity. I don't in life either. I don't want to be around negative people. I like to keep it positive, So I think that intent has a lot to do with what you're going to deal with when you go on these investigations. Now, if you're going in there and you want to stir up some demons and you want to raise some hell, then yeah, you can definitely do that at Waverly. And you can deal with the after costs of that because there's going to be repercussions, you know what I mean? Tony's been there as a tour guide for years. Tony's a big man, and he's been thrown around like a rag doll in that place. He has a very healthy respect for the paranormal activity that goes on there. But when I went, I was kind of surprised. I felt so much love. I mean, so much. It was like, it threw me off, I mean, I'm like, I thought I was going to be scared. I thought this was going to be like a kind of a spooky place because of all the negative stuff. And I didn't encounter anything negative there. I could feel a lot of love. I could feel a lot of intention. It was like the nurses that worked there really cared about their patients. There was a lot of love in that place too. And being that I only wanted to experience the positive, that's probably why I did, because that was my intent. I wasn't there to stir up trouble. I went in with respect, and that's how I do it always. I always go in with a lot of respect for those that are there, and if they want to talk to me, I'm in their house. This ain't my house, I mean, I'm trespassing. So, I think that kind of makes a difference. But we did get a lot of good evidence out of that place, both in video. I've got video on Facebook of my hair getting moved while I was laying in one of the morgue trays. Just before it happened, I got the smell of chemical. I'm like, oh, God, can you smell that? I smelled some chemical. It was like formaldehyde,
Right.
And then my hair moved on my shoulder all by itself. EVPs. anomalies in photographs, but there's like, to me, that's like the best place to go. I mean, if you want to have a paranormal experience, definitely go to Waverly Hills. You'll have one. I can't imagine anybody getting out of there. Even a skeptic is going to become a believer in that place. But do go in with good intention. Do go in with respect, because there's another picture on Facebook that you might see where I'm in the death tunnel, and an image appeared on the wall beside me. And honestly, Barbara, it looks like an alien to me. I mean, it doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
Really?
You can see the eyes. You can see it's got a long nose, like a giraffe, almost. Like, a giraffe's nose is long and flat. And then there's two big nostrils at the bottom. I don't know what that is. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's things there that is completely out in my lane. And when I took that picture, we knew something was there. We felt it come up on us. Okay, as we were coming, we went all the way to the end of the tunnel. As we were coming back, we felt like we were being bum rushed from behind, and started taking pictures. And that's what came out. So
would that have been the creeper?
No, we got a great picture of the creeper too, though. Definitely. I mean, I'll have to check and see if that's on Facebook. If it's not, I'll put it on there for you. An amazing picture of the creeper. You can actually, the picture was taken in the dark, still has a shadow on the ground. Nobody could see it there. I mean, if you go to Waverly Hills, that place is clean. There's no debris laying around. There's not garbage on the floor. But you can clearly see, you're going to love this picture. I'll get it on. If it's not on Facebook already, I'll put it on there for you. I'll tag you in it.
All right.
So you can see it.
Now, speaking of the motto, when you leave, you believe, have you ever been to Post Town?
No, I have not been to Post Town yet.
Ooh, that's their motto. It's when you leave, you believe, because apparently it's super active in that elementary school.
Yeah, I definitely want to go there.
Yeah, that's
actually one on my list.
That's about 30 miles from me now. Used to be just around the corner.
I'm going to have to come up and see you. You got all that good stuff up there.
Oh, there's all kinds of places that I go to around here that has stuff in it. Preble County Historical Society is a good one. So, do you believe that, I know everybody wants to go in the dark to investigate, but isn't the same stuff there during the daytime too?
Yeah, I understand why some investigators prefer to do it at dark. It's quiet. You've got less noise contamination when you're trying to, gather evidence. And while I think evidence is great fun, I really do, and I totally appreciate and respect it, because I think that's something that they give you. That's a gift to you. If they're going to let you take their picture, that's a gift to you. Respect it. But I have been, and I think it depends on, the location too, because you go to like Sloss Furnace, that place is active 24/7. You can collect evidence there during the day. Now, you've got a lot of highway noise at times that you're going to have to deal with more during the day than at night. So I understand wanting to be there at night, but I got a picture of a shadow figure during the day, on a day visit, and most people that have been to that place will tell you it doesn't matter what time of day you go. The spirits are always active. Now, what negates that? I have no idea. No idea, it's just when they, I guess, feel they want to show themselves, I don't think we really catch them. I don't think we sneak up on them and catch them. No. I think that they allow us to see them.
Yes. And like I say, usually about the only thing that I use on an investigation is my recorder. I've had cameras and taken pictures and just never actually get anything to me. But the recorder is where I actually get my evidence from. I know a lot of people try to use.
I like the EVPs.
Yeah. They try to use all these gadgets and stuff, but There's so many different things that can be intertwined in those gadgets that you can't really prove it unless you actually get an EVP.
I agree.
So, all right,
I
Barbara,
agree.
I'm taking all the time again. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I like to go. I go for the experience. You know, if I don't get a single EVP or a single photo, I'm okay with that as long as I have an experience.
Yeah.
Or if I'm with someone who's never had an experience, I'll ask to skip that experience and I'll ask the spirits to let them have an experience. And that has actually worked, believe it or not. I took a friend over to the lighthouse in St. Augustine and wanted them to have an experience because they hadn't had one. So I did. I asked the spirits, and I'm like, will you please give them a profound experience, one that they can't deny, so that they can, just validate that you are indeed here. I know you're here, but I'll forego my experience if you'll just please touch them. And I'm talking to the spirits telepathically with thought, and sure enough, a little flick on the ear, and my friend was like, I just got touched in the ear. And I'm like, ask them to do it again. And they said, if that was you, do it again. And it happened again. And I'm like, okay, good. Now you're a believer. And that was the end of the story. I mean, it's profound, for them because they finally got to have that experience. But to me, that is so fulfilling when you can take a skeptic and turn them into a believer. And then they're like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand what you're talking about,
Wow.
It's more profound, I guess, to watch somebody else get off it. Because for me, I mean, it's like I've been touched, I don't understand the whole rage about, oh, I was scratched. Okay, you got a scratch. I mean, it's not such a bad thing, is it really? I mean, if they did this, I think that's kind of cool. It doesn't bother me, But to actually be physically touched is an incredible thing. When I was out at the Abbey in Colorado, a friend of mine, Tom, was out there, and he actually had, and I watched this happen, I watched a little boy jump on his back. Really? And what was super interesting to me was how Tom reacted to it, because as soon as I saw this little boy jump on his back, it was like a piggyback ride, Tom literally had to catch himself from falling over and put his hands down on both his knees and kind of leaned up against the wall as if that ghost child had weight to him.
Huh.
And I thought that was fascinating. That was the same night that Jim Fliss had, I watched a little girl, well, he actually invited the ghost children there, and he's like, because he was bald, he said, I got a smooth head. If you want to come up and rub my head, you can rub my head. We're all sitting down on the floor. And I watched a little girl come through a door, and she went up to him and put her hands on both sides of his, on both cheeks, and gave him a nosy. How you rub noses with somebody? Yeah. And then she put her hand on top of his head, and he was getting a tingling sensation. He goes, "Oh, my cheeks are tingling," and and then this was happening. And now my head's tingling. And we took photos of it and captured a small handprint right on top of his head. So I mean, to have that physical interaction with spirits is so much more profound to me than a blurry photograph that may or may not be a spirit. A video even, of an object moving. That physical connection is incredible, absolutely incredible.
Wow. All right, Barbara.
Oh, I thought Jeff had a question.
Oh.
He was interrupted.
Not really. I was just trying to find the link for friggin' Sloss Furnace. I thought I had.
Gotcha.
Oh.
There's a question in chat, and Sherry wants to know if you've ever physically been attacked by a spirit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. Which kind of has taught me how important it is to stay protected, and why today, when I investigate, I have my guides take the wheel, so to speak. Jesus take the wheel, I've actually, the last time that I had a really bad occurrence, it was quite a strange experience where my body was taken over, and it was in a cemetery, and I was with a group, and as I was walking with this group, the further we went into the cemetery, the more irritated I got. I was angry. My arms were crossed. I started feeling almost like I had the flu. I didn't like any of those people. I was getting angry with the group because they were stepping on graves. Some of them were. And I started kind of lagging behind the group. Meanwhile, my friend Lacey White was taking pictures of everybody. And she noticed that I was like dropped back, that I wasn't in the picture she was taking anymore. And of course, we're best friends, so she's trying to include me in the photos. And she noticed that I was back further, so she just kind of came over to check on me and see, make sure I was okay. And I wasn't okay at all. She was talking to me, and I couldn't understand a word she was saying. I was looking at her, but it was like she was talking in tongues or something. I mean, nothing she said made any sense to me whatsoever. And she asked me if I was okay. And when I responded to her, the same thing happened. She couldn't understand a word I was saying. So she called a couple of other members of our group over, and they saw my face change, and I didn't look like myself anymore. I started taking on a much more masculine face. And I mean, this was a pretty serious thing because I literally, this wasn't invited. I am a physical medium. I typically don't mind if a spirit wants to step in, like the old man did in the store. That was acceptable to me. That was wantonly and willingly giving it up. But this wasn't. This was actually, I was being forced, and that's not good. So I kind of lost my faculties. I mean, I couldn't speak. I wasn't even thinking for myself at that point. I don't even know where I was. Most of this story is based on what they told me. And the spirit had completely taken me over. They had to rush me out of the cemetery, and she put me in the car, and we drove down the road, and it took probably 5 minutes down the road until I felt like I was conscious again. Prior to that, I was in much more of a trance state, and didn't really know what happened. I mean, I 1 minute I was in the cemetery, and the next minute we were driving down the road. I'm like, what's going on? Where are we at? And she's like, she's driving the car and looking at me, driving the car and looking at me. She's like, are you okay? You feeling all right? I'm like, yeah, I think I am. I think I'm okay. What's going on?
Wondering what act of the horror film she's in.
Right. Yeah. Because she had never seen that happen to me before, where my physical features actually changed. And I told her the same thing I told my daughter-in-law. I said, when this stuff happens, you need to roll tape because I've never seen this and I want to see it happen. I mean, I joke about it when I'm on an investigation, and it's really kind of, I joke about it, but I seriously mean it. I mean, like if I'm stuck to the ceiling, you need to video that.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, don't put me down. Get your phone out and start rolling tape because, I want to see this. When I drop, you can check on me.
We got one of the guests in the chat room here is Ghost Man. Apparently, he's been with you at some of the places. Do you know who Ghost Man is?
Ghost Man?
Yeah.
Does Ghost Man, can he type in his real name?
He could if he wanted to. I don't know if he just took that for a
like your private chat to Henry or CC to let.
Oh yeah, the other question in chat was if you've ever run into a vibration that was so dark it made you physically ill, and whether it was a living person or a dead person or a spirit.
Yes, living and dead, absolutely, and physically ill, absolutely. Without question. Throwing up, vomiting, headaches, nausea. I've been punched. I've had the wind knocked out of me. I mean, yeah, I've definitely, and again, it's those negative experiences that negate the protection that, I mean, I'm very eclectic in my protection, you know, I mean, I do all kinds of crazy things. I carry crystals, I carry salt water, I mean, whatever, anything I can carry with me that might be helpful, I mean, you know, my bag's full. So it's, but I think that, you know, spirit guides and the power of intent are the two most practical and important things that anybody can take with them. And I think if you go to a haunted location, I can't express it enough, do not provoke. Please do not provoke. You might get a reaction, but you might not like the reaction you get.
Yes. Yeah. No, I've
If
never.
you go with respect,
I
you're going to get.
That's the way I always go, is with respect. I treat them just like they used to be alive, and I only ask for nice things. Yeah. And I've never had any real negative things happen to me, thank God. And that's why I don't mind doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Now, you
Well, you know.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, when I've had negative things happen, it's usually my own fault. I mean, I could see where it was my doing. Not because I did anything, you know, provoking necessarily, but I may have, like, not included my guides. Or I, like in the case with the cemetery, when my body was overtaken, I was there the night before, and my guides told me to stay by the tree. The closer I got to the tree by the entrance, the better I felt. The further into the cemetery I went, the higher my anxiety went. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to push myself, right? Face your fear, right? So even though I'm feeling this anxiety, I'm going to go ahead and push myself and go into this cemetery and follow the rest of the group. And then I physically felt somebody pushing on my chest. And it wasn't like a heavy thrust or anything. It was more like a friend telling you, no, come on, stay back. You don't want to get in there. You know, it was a loving, cautious pushback, but I could feel it, and I counted it. I counted how many times it happened. It happened exactly 9 times, and then it stopped. And it was interesting to me that, and I knew it was my guides. I knew my guides were, and that's where you got to learn to respect your guides too. You got to respect the answers they give you, even if you don't like them. And my guide was telling me, no, there's trouble in here. You don't want to be here. You know, stay back. Don't go in. And I didn't want to like be, you know, a scaredy cat. I mean, I'm not afraid. I want to face any fears or anxiety. You know, we can do this. We're going to be okay. And no, we weren't okay. You know, we weren't okay at all. We lost our faculties, for crying out loud. So, you know, you really gotta trust your instincts, right, and listen to your guides. So it's when I haven't listened that I've run into trouble. You know, it's not something that you can be real careless with, because not all ghosts are friendly. You know, there's some negative things out there, and if you don't know what you're getting into, you can get hurt. And you might be lucky, and it might just simply be a scratch, but it could be a lot worse. You know, I've heard horror stories of how people get attachments, and it affects their lives for long term, months, years down the road.
Wow.
You know,
now, so Ghost Man in the chat room said his name's Tom.
Yeah. Tom is the one that has a little boy jump on his back.
Oh, okay.
That I mentioned earlier. Yeah, he's been on. Yeah, he's seen quite a bit.
Yeah, he said the Abbey and said he was the horse.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He was given rides.
Now, I know you said before that sometimes before you would go to places, some of the spirits might visit you and say anything. Did you get anything before doing the show tonight?
No, actually I didn't. I can't say that I wasn't full of the mundane prior to the show tonight, though. To be fair, had I just been home and been able to meditate or do something like that, maybe perhaps something would have come through. But I was kind of wrapped up in our mundane world with a lot of other people around me, so
Right.
I didn't really get a chance to do that. I did, however, definitely get interrupted by spirits. So I hope that somewhere along the line there that someone received the message that they were intended to hear, because it can be quite silly to me, when spirit comes through like that. Mm-hmm. I had one time I was doing a paranormal speech, and my great-grandmother came in and stood behind me. And this is a woman that I have a lot of love and respect for. And she came up behind me, put her hands on my shoulders, and she said, "I'm so proud of you." So while I'm standing up on this stage, talking to all these people, trying to be all professional, all of a sudden I just busted out in these emotional tears. They're just falling down like rain. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, my grandma's here." So, and it was, it was like kind of like going to, like one of those dreams that you have, and
Right.
you're in school with no clothes on or something. It was so embarrassing at the time, but at the same time, it was such a welcome gift, It was like, "Grandma, you picked the wrong time, but thank you."
Wow. Well, we're down to
So
about,
yeah, you never know.
we're down just about 12 minutes before we have to start wrapping up. Barbara, you got questions still? Is she still with me?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah, you mentioned that sometimes that you meditate ahead of time, and I'm wondering, when you go on investigations, do you want information about the place prior to your being there, or do you prefer going in without any preconceived notions or history of the place?
That's never really mattered to me, one way or the other. I mean, I guess for when you're investigating with a group of people, it's always fun not to have the information if you feel like you need the validation, or they need the validation, that you can go in and then be right. But to me, that's just kind of an ego thing, and I really don't feed on it. So it doesn't matter to me whether I know something or not. I've gone to places that I know are haunted and not gotten anything. And we'll be walking through, you getting anything, Gypsy? You getting anything? I'm like, no, nobody's home. I mean, and let's tell you, and that happens. I mean, not every haunted location is active 24/7. You're not always going to be able to contact. You're not always going to be able to communicate. And, I either get something or I don't. And it really has nothing to do with, for me anyways, it doesn't have anything to do with the history on the place. It either happens or it doesn't happen. And I don't control that. They do. So that's why I say it doesn't matter if it's day or night. It either happens or it doesn't. And fortunately, I mean, for me, more times than not, something happens. But I think it's because I go in with respect and love, and I get good results because of my approach to it. But not always. I mean, the Abbey out in Colorado is a very haunted location. That's another day or night place. And I've walked through there and not felt a thing. Doesn't mean that it's not haunted. It just means there's no activity at this time,
right. You can go to a place one time, not get anything. You go again, and you might get stuff. They're there and they talk on their time, not just because
That's right.
they're trying to get something.
Right. Yeah. They don't always do command performances.
Right. Right.
Have you ever gone to a place where you just walked to the front door and said, "No, I'm not going in there"?
Yes, absolutely. And that is that doesn't happen very often. But it's again, when my guides are only going to tell me there's negativity if it's a problem. They're not going to tell me if like Waverly Hills, for example. We know there's negativity there. We know it exists. My guides didn't tell me that I shouldn't go in because the negativity that was there didn't pose a threat. If it doesn't pose a threat to me, then I don't have to worry about it, and I can go ahead and proceed. But occasionally, they're like, you know, there's a threat. You shouldn't be there. Don't do it. Like the cemetery that I went to, there was a threat there, and I had no business not listening, and I ended up in trouble because of it. So those experiences that I've had along the way, and working closely with my guides, has really taught me a lot about listening to them. Because when I don't, I end up in trouble, you know, and I'm not looking for trouble. So yeah, if I come across a place that, you know, they say no, it's no. And I've traveled 5, 6, 7 hours by car to get a no, and had to accept that no, you know, for my own safety. I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, but they won't let me go in. I can sit outside, but it's not very often. Not very often.
Are these residential areas, or are they public areas?
Both.
Both. Oh.
Both. Yep. Absolutely both.
It's hard to imagine that any residential area would be that negative, but I guess there are several.
There are. They're out there. Yeah.
Do you think the negativity is human based or living based, or is it mostly?
No.
Okay.
Not that I've encountered. I don't mind talking to a grumpy old man who's mad because he's got these people living in his house. I mean, I can deal with that all day long. I kind of like grumpy old men, to be honest with you. I worked in a nursing home. I mean, they were all grumpy old men. I loved them, you know. You know, I mean, I'm not going to lie. They loved me. You know, we got along just fine. But no, the human ones, I don't have any. I've never had any issues with. It's the non-human entities, and they're out there. And I lived actually at the base of an Indian burial mound for about 8 years, and I had a lot of experiences in that place that gave me a very healthy respect for demonic activity. And it's not something I wish to encounter. It's not something that I necessarily fear. It's just not something I wish to encounter at this point in time in my life. And I'll put it out there like that, because there may come a day where I'm willing to go up against them. But right now is not that time. But the Native Americans used to actually use these entities to protect their sacred lands, to protect their burial mounds. So, you know, it's kind of a yin and yang thing. And they most definitely exist. They have their place. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, the one that I dealt with in my own home for 8 years tore apart my family, made my son struggle with things no one should ever have to deal with. I should really write a book. So yeah, and because of that experience that I had, is why I listen now. You know, if there's something of a threat, I don't want an attachment. I don't want to deal with that right now. I mean, I'm good.
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking that, you know, Colorado, northern Utah is where Skinwalker Ranch is, and I mean, that's kind of very negative type of spirit.
Absolutely. They got a series out now too. I'm all over that. I got that recording. I haven't started watching it yet, but I'm recording it. And that's another thing. See, that's where that crossover kicks in, because you have paranormal activity that is you know, like with the ghosts and the people that, you know, have been incarnated. And for me, I mean, I love that stuff. That's great. These are people. I can relate to that, you know, but something with like 3 legs and 2 heads is just not in my game. And I think that there's a lot of crossover, you know, whether it's aliens or interdimensional creatures, or, you know, I don't know what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch, but there's a lot happening out there. And I'm not in a hurry to get there, but I'll watch the show.
Wow.
I often wonder what would happen if a psychic had visited there, because I don't think they've had one yet up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know.
Or why it's
I
only
don't
limited
know.
to that ranch.
Well, I mean, I think that, like I said, personally, I think that there's more going on there than meets the eye. I think it's more than just ghosts. It very well could be interdimensional. It could be alien. There's obviously a lot of Native American things happening. I mean, I think it's like paranormal soup. You know, I don't think it's just one thing going on. I think it's a plethora of things going on. And somebody should probably check. I mean, are there like ley lines going through that property?
No idea.
Yeah, you know, because I mean, you know, you look at like, you know, these energy spots on the planet, and sometimes they're just attracted to where those ley lines intersect. You know, so I mean, it could be that. I know in this area in particular, you know, like my house has underground rivers going underneath my house. I didn't know that when I bought the house, but I found out. There's springs going down the hillside here, and my neighbors, when they built that house, they had to put in, what do they call it, the rocks and stuff all the way around.
Right.
To drain the water. And, you know, they say they're attracted to the water, too, you know, the rivers and stuff, you know, because it's like a conduit. So, you know, there's a lot of things in nature that can provoke these experiences as well. So who knows what's going on that ranch? Should we go, Barb? Should we go down there and check it out?
Yeah, definitely.
You want to? You want to go?
We-
Do ya? Really?
I don't think they'll let us off.
Probably have a better chance getting on that than we would Area 51.
Yeah.
Hey, two little old ladies like us, we just got lost. We're sorry.
Oh. All right. Well, we're down to like 4 minutes. Jeff, did you have any question or anything?
I did want to point out one thing just before we went on the air. Barbara, you said that Pluto's in retrograde. What would that imply for us to know?
That the energy for as far as things getting more intense are going to start to squeeze a little bit more. So anytime you have, yeah, that's my neighbors next door.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So when you have Pluto going forward, it's kind of moseying through Capricorn, so Earth signs are going to be in a little bit better shape. But then it's starting to go stationary, and now it's going to go retrograde, which means it's going to start again. People are going to start feeling a little bit more squeezed, a little bit more confined.
Yeah. We're not feeling that way at all right now.
No.
So there you go.
So the pressure is going to be a little bit more. Isn't that lovely?
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long is that going to last?
Till October.
Maybe
It'll be a while.
Maybe something else will come by though, and kind of like.
Oh no, this is gonna
It won't
rear its little ugly head until next year sometime.
Wow.
Hopefully we'll start opening stuff back up in June at least, because I'm hearing May is going to be gone.
All right, we got
Yeah.
2 minutes. Gypsy, I want you to go ahead and give out all your information where people can contact you, follow you, and all the good stuff.
Well, I actually say, you know, just look me up on Facebook. You can find all kinds of links to my website at gypsymoonmagic.com there. But Facebook's a great place to get a hold of me, to follow me. And you can certainly message me. My inbox gets a little overwhelmed, but I try to get into it and get around to it all. So if you have any paranormal questions or thoughts or, you know, concerns that you'd like to discuss, Facebook's definitely a great place to do that.
All right. Let's see. Okay, we're down to just a couple of minutes. Next week, I'm working on like a special guest show. it may or may not happen. So we'll just have to wait and see who we have next week. So, Gypsy, I want you to stay on till we're off, and we'll talk with you for a minute after that.
Sure.
And so, Barbara, you guys, Jeff, got anything before we start the countdown here?
Keep washing your hands.
Yep. Happy Beltane in a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
everybody take care of yourselves. Mind what you're doing. Wash your hands. Keep social distancing. It's working.
It's
Yes.
working, huh? All right. With that, we're going to run now. So this is Henry Foister,
Jeffrey Gould.
And Barbara Duncan.
and we will see you next week at the same time. So good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal View.